Hello, third grade, and welcome to our iLearn practice for today. We are going to be working on Edulastic, so make sure that you look on the class kick screen and you are on the correct one. Now we're going to be looking at character traits. Now character traits describe how a character is all the time in the inside. So they are afraid, angry, artistic, athletic, awesome, beautiful, bold, bored, bossy. It describes how they are in the inside, not how they are on the outside. So as we are reading, I want you to think about the characters' traits. Are they kind? Are they respectful? Are they nervous? Are they worried? Let's go ahead and begin about forgetting the words. Read along with me. Andy is frightened when he sees the pirates. They have eye patches and big swords, and they do not look happy to see him. But the pirates are not the reason why Andy feels scared. The pirates are supposed to be there because Andy is starring in the school play. He had been excited when Mrs. Roberts, his teacher, chose him to star in Treasure Island. The play is based on the famous novel of Robert Louis Stevenson, and it is one of Andy's favorites. He has been looking forward to this for weeks, but now that he's up on stage and his family and friends watching from the audience, something terrible has happened. Andy does not remember what he's supposed to say. It's the big scene at the end of the play when Andy fights the pirates. When they were practicing the play, this was his favorite scene because he got to run and jump and fight with his sword. Andy loves pretending to be a pirate. He and his friends spend every recess imagining the jungle gym is a ship. They run back and forth across it, having sword fights and yelling about buried treasure. Sometimes they jump off the side and pretend to be eaten by sharks. During recess, they pretend to fight with swords and hold them like pirates. But before the fight can happen, there's something Andy has to say to Long John Silver, the leader of the pirates. No matter how hard he tries, he can't remember his line. Is he supposed to say, "This is the end for you, Long John Silver"? Is he supposed to say, "Get your hands off my treasure"? Maybe he's supposed to say, "En garde." That's what people say in pirate movies. But Andy doesn't want to just make up the words. If he says something wrong, he might confuse the other actors. He might get in trouble. Andy's mother was very proud of him when he got picked to star in the play. He can't see her in the audience, but he knows she's out there somewhere, waiting for his big scene. Andy is worried about letting her down. The other actors are waiting for him to say something. They look angry. He isn't sure if their anger is pretend. He waves his sword at them, but they don't do anything. Nothing can happen until he says his line. Andy is beginning to sweat. From somewhere out in the audience, he hears a voice yell, "Get him, Andy!" It's his mom. Suddenly, Andy knows what he has to do. He still can't remember his line, but it doesn't matter. Andy raises his sword above his head and roars like a lion. He runs at the pirates, and they begin to fight. Now, how is Andy involved in the school play? We need to think about how his character trait changed at the beginning to the end. At the beginning, he was frightened and worried. And at the end, he got some confidence. He was confident. But how was he involved in the play? What was his position? Andy is watching his friends act in the play. Andy is starring in the school play. Andy is writing the school play. Andy is directing the school play. Watching, starring, writing, or directing. Let's look at the top to see if we can find our evidence. And I'm going to use a strategy of skimming through to see if I see any of those words. Starring. Andy is starring in the school play. I found the evidence, so now I can choose the answer. Go ahead and choose that answer. And then click Next. This is the same passage, just a different question. Now, what problem does Andy have when he starts to perform? What's the problem? He cannot remember his lines, he says the wrong word, he moves to the wrong spot, or he speaks too fast. So let's go back and see what happened. It's a big scene of the play, the pirates, they were playing, pirate yelling the sword, jump off and pretend, but before the fight could happen, there was something that he had to say. He can't remember his line. I found the evidence. Now I can choose the answer. Third graders always go back to find their evidence. Now his character trait of being frightened changed because his mom gave him confidence. And at the end, he was a confident character. Now this next one, you are going to do on your own. It's a shorter passage. So you'll read number 3. We're not going to do all 12. We're only doing page 1 through 4. So you're going to read this passage, answer number 3. Which word best describes the biggest kid? Was he brave, scared, smart, or greedy? Go back and find some evidence. Why would that describe them? And then choose your answer. Number 4 is on the same passage, so you do not have to read it twice, but you'll have to go back and find your answer. In the story, it says the kid's heart sank. What caused his heart to sink? That means that he got worried or scared or sad. His heart sank. So which one fits best? Go back and find your evidence when his heart sank. What caused it? Once you're finished with 1 through 4, you can move on to the next activity. You do not need to submit. You do not need to submit.